Writing code is a constant push and pull on your development skills. First, you write some code and test it to see if it works the way you intended. Then, as the project progresses, you discover ways to improve and change the code. This kind of rewriting is sometimes called refactoring. Regardless of how you define it, Visual Studio has refactoring tools to help. If you are a C# developer, then you don't have to do anything special, as there are about 10 refactoring tools built into Visual Studio. If you are a VB programmer, you should download the free CodeRush Express tool, which provides dramatic code refactoring support. For this demonstration, I'll use a project called Refactor My C#. I'll start my refactoring journey by opening the program.cs file. A common refactoring is renaming parts of your code. C# refactoring supports renaming classes, methods, variables, and other parts of your code library. For my first refactoring, I'm going to rename this variable on line 13. Calling it B is not very descriptive. To rename it, I'll select the variable and then go to my Edit Refactor menu and then choose Rename. Visual Studio brings up a dialog that asks me for the new name. I'll call this one Book. And then it asks me several other questions. Do I want to preview the changes before I apply them? Do I want to search through my comments for the word B and change it to Book? And do I want to look through my string literals? I'll accept the defaults and click OK. Here is the preview screen. It tells me what it's looking at in the top half of the screen, and in the bottom half of the screen, it shows me the code that's going to be changed. I like the changes, so I'll click Apply. And as you can see, it changed line 13 and line 18. Next, I want to rename this method. This method is defined inside the book class over here. So I could change it either in the book class itself, or I can change it in program.cs. I'll try it from here. I select Save Book, right-click on it, and choose Refactor. Notice there's also a keystroke, Control-R, Control-R. There are also other keystrokes for the other refactoring tools, like Control-R, Control-M for extract method. I'll choose this first one. I'll call this one Save the Book. And again, it shows me that it's going to be changed in 2 different locations, and here is the changes. Now I click on Apply, and it changes it here. And if I open up my book.cs file, you'll see that it also modified it here. Now let's try the extract method refactor. To do that, I'm going to open mathlib.cs. I wrote this method called calculate paint needed that has some code that I think is reusable in many other methods. I highlight the code that I want to refactor, right-click, choose Refactor, extract method. I'll call this new method calculate area, and then click OK. Visual Studio wrote a new method down here, figured out what needs to be passed in as parameters. The radius needed to be passed in as a parameter, took my 3 items from the previous method, and returns them here. And then it fixed up the code here, too, to call my calculate area and pass in the radius value. The next refactor will be reorder parameters. I'll open up the book class and go to this method, save the book. Right-click and choose Refactor, reorder parameters. Now I can change the order. I'll move the overwrite existing to the end, and then click OK. It has to do some work here. It has to find all the instances that called this method and change the parameters. That's what I'm seeing here. I'll click on Apply. Now we see that overwrite existing is at the end of the list. And if we go see where I'm calling this method in program.cs, you'll see that the Boolean value is at the end of the list. Return back to book. You might have noticed there was a spelling error in this Boolean parameter too. That's right, we can rename this. For my final refactoring, I'll show you the extract interface. I'll go to my book class, right-click on it, choose Refactor, Extract Interface. I tell it the name of my new interface, iBook, and I tell it which members I want to export to the interface. I've got a choice of price and title and the method. I'm going to take the 2 properties but leave the method inside the book class. Now I'll click on OK. Visual Studio creates a new file in my project called iBook.cs, creates an interface called iBook, moves my 2 properties over here. And finally, it modifies my book class to implement this iBook interface. All in all, I'd say Microsoft nailed the most common refactorings. If you want more refactoring, look into third-party tools like CodeRush and ReSharper.